Welcome to Power in Words. You have arrived at a sanctuary for the spirit, a quiet corner of the digital universe dedicated to the excavation of human potential. Here, we believe that language is not merely a tool for communication, but a vessel for energy, a spark that can ignite the dormant fires within the soul, and a compass that guides us back to our truest selves. We gather here not to escape reality, but to arm ourselves with the wisdom required to face it, to reshape it, and to fall in love with the process of becoming who we were meant to be. Today, we stand before a mirror held up by one of the most formidable women in history, a woman whose wisdom was forged not in the ease of comfort, but in the crucible of challenge. We're here to dissect, to breathe in, and to live out the profound command of Eleanor Roosevelt: do one thing every day that scares you. To understand the gravity of this imperative, we must first dismantle our relationship with the concept of fear itself. For most of us live our lives in a carefully constructed truce with our anxieties. We build walls of routine and moats of predictability, convincing ourselves that safety is the ultimate goal of the human experience. We wake up, we follow the prescribed path, we avoid the difficult conversation, we silence the unpopular opinion, and we retreat from the opportunity that carries the risk of failure. We tell ourselves that this is prudence, that this is maturity, but if we listen closely to the silence of our own hearts in the deep hours of the night, we hear the truth. It is not prudence, it is stagnation. It is the slow, silent atrophy of the soul. When Eleanor Roosevelt implored us to do one thing every day that scares us, she was not asking us to be reckless, nor was she suggesting that we place ourselves in physical danger. She was speaking as a master psychologist of the human condition, understanding that the boundaries of our lives are defined exactly by the boundaries of our courage. Imagine, if you will, the landscape of your life as a physical territory. For many, this territory is a small, fenced garden. It is pleasant, it is familiar, and nothing unexpected ever grows there. But just beyond the fence lies a vast, untamed wilderness of potential. That wilderness holds the mountains of your greatest achievements, the rivers of your deepest connections, and the forests of your hidden talents. The gate to that wilderness is guarded by a single sentinel, and its name is fear. To stay in the garden is to accept a life that is smaller than your capacity. To open the gate is to accept the tremor in your hands, the racing of your heart, and the uncertainty of the path. Eleanor invites us to open that gate, not once in a lifetime, but every single day. She asks us to make the crossing of the threshold a daily ritual, a habit as ingrained as brushing our teeth or taking our morning coffee. Why is this daily practice so vital? Because courage is not a lightning bolt that strikes the chosen few. It is a muscle. Like any muscle in the human body, it operates on the principle of use and disuse. If you spend your days avoiding the things that make you nervous, avoiding the friction of the unknown, your capacity for bravery withers. You become fragile. Minor inconveniences morph into catastrophes. Minor criticisms feel like devastating attacks. The world begins to shrink until it fits within the tiny circumference of your comfort zone. Conversely, when you deliberately engage with fear, when you seek out that small spike of adrenaline, you are engaging in a profound act of psychological conditioning. You are teaching your nervous system that you can feel fear and act anyway. You are rewriting the neural pathways of your brain, replacing the instinct to freeze with the instinct to move forward. Let us look at what this looks like in the texture of an ordinary day. It is rarely the cinematic heroism we see in films. It is the quiet, invisible heroism of the private moment. It is the decision to raise your hand in a meeting when you are unsure if your idea is brilliant or foolish. It is the decision to pick up the phone and apologize to an old friend, bridging a silence that has lasted for years. It is wearing the outfit that expresses who you truly are, rather than the one that blends into the background. It is sitting down at the empty page to write the first sentence of the novel you have dreamed of for a decade, knowing it might be imperfect. These are the monsters we must slay. They are small, subtle, and insidious. They whisper to us that it is better to wait, better to be silent, better to remain unseen. When you choose to do the thing that scares you, you are silencing that whisper. You are declaring that your desire for growth is louder than your fear of judgment. There is a profound alchemy that occurs when we step into the fire of our own resistance. At first, there is the physical sensation of dread, the tightening chest, the dry mouth. This is the body's ancient biological alarm system, designed to protect us from predators on the savannah. But in the modern world, this alarm system is often miscalibrated. It treats a public speech or a creative risk as a threat to survival. The moment you push through that barrier, however, something miraculous happens. The energy that was bound up in anxiety is suddenly released and transformed into exhilaration. There is a rush of dopamine, a surge of pride, a clarity of vision that only comes on the other side of the obstacle. You realize that the monster was a shadow puppet. You realize that you did not die. You survived, and in surviving, you expanded. This sensation is intoxicating in the most beautiful, life-affirming way. Once you taste the freedom that comes from conquering a fear, you begin to look for the next gate to open. Consider the alternative. Consider the architecture of regret. Psychologists who work with the elderly, those in the twilight of their years, often report a singular, heartbreaking theme. We seldom mourn the missteps, even the mistakes, even the failures. The scars of our failures fade and often become badges of honor, stories we tell with a laugh. What haunts the human spirit at the end of the journey is the catalog of things undone, the words left unspoken, the trips not taken, the businesses not started, the love not confessed. These are the ghosts that linger. We think we are protecting ourselves by playing it safe, but we are actually exposing ourselves to the greatest risk of all, the risk of arriving at the end of our lives and realizing we never truly lived them. We were merely tourists in our own existence, watching from the safety of the shore while the ship of our potential sailed away without us. Eleanor Roosevelt knew this. She was a woman who was terrified of public speaking, who was riddled with insecurities about her appearance and her voice. Yet, she forced herself to stand before microphones, to travel to war zones, to champion human rights in the face of vicious opposition. She did not wait for the fear to vanish. She walked hand in hand with it. She used her fear as a compass, understanding that where the fear was greatest, the opportunity for growth was highest. This daily practice of courage changes not only how we view ourselves, but how the world views us. There is a magnetic quality to a person who is willing to be vulnerable, who is willing to try and fail. We are drawn to them. We trust them. When you see someone stumbling through a new language, or dancing without rhythm but with joy, or admitting they do not know the answer, you do not feel contempt. You feel a resonance. You feel permission to be imperfect yourself. By doing the thing that scares you, you become a lighthouse for others. You implicitly grant permission to those around you to shed their own armor. Your courage becomes contagious. In a world that is often paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection and the fear of cancellation, the simple act of trying, of daring, becomes a revolutionary act of leadership. Let us dig deeper into the psychology of the comfort zone. It is a beautiful term, comfort, but in this context, it is a deception. It is a gilded cage. Inside this zone, we rely on our existing skills, our existing knowledge, and our existing identity. We are on autopilot, but human beings are not designed for stasis. We are designed for evolution. When we stop challenging ourselves, we begin to decay. Our cognitive flexibility declines, our emotional resilience weakens, and our spirit dulls. The act of doing something scary is the antidote to this decay. It forces the brain to wake up. It demands presence. You cannot be on autopilot when you are terrified. You are hyper-aware, hyper-alive. This is why people who engage in adventure sports or high-stakes performance often speak of a state of flow. Fear, when managed and moved through, is the gateway to presence. It strips away the trivial worries of the past and future and forces you into the absolute now. In that moment, you are fully alive. So how do we begin? How do we take this towering philosophy and weave it into the fabric of a Tuesday morning? We begin small. We begin with compassion for our own hesitation. You do not need to skydive tomorrow. You do not need to quit your job in a dramatic flourish today. You simply need to identify the one thing that makes your stomach turn just a little bit. Maybe it is eating lunch alone in a restaurant without looking at your phone. Maybe it is signing up for a dance class. Maybe it is finally setting a boundary with a family member who drains your energy. Identify it. Name it. Acknowledge that you are afraid. There is no shame in the fear. The shame lies only in letting the fear dictate your actions. Stand at the edge of that decision and observe the physical sensations. Feel the resistance. And then, with a gentle but firm resolve, take the step. As you take that step, visualize the version of yourself that exists on the other side. That version is taller, stronger, and lighter. That version of you knows something that the current version does not, that the anticipated pain of the action is almost always greater than the reality of the event. Our minds are excellent storytellers, specifically in the genre of horror. We catastrophize. We imagine that if we stutter during a presentation, our career is over. We imagine that if we ask for a raise and get rejected, we will be humiliated forever. But reality is far more forgiving than our imagination. You might stutter, and people might wait patiently. You might get rejected, and you will simply go back to work with the knowledge that you stood up for your worth. The reality is manageable. It is the fantasy of fear that paralyzes. By doing the scary thing, you pierce the bubble of fantasy and encounter the solid ground of reality. You realize you can handle it. This realization is the bedrock of true confidence. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the deep, internalized knowledge that you can cope with whatever happens. Furthermore, this practice introduces a beautiful serendipity into your life. When you stay on the safe path, you know exactly where it leads. It leads to the same place you were yesterday. But when you step off the path into the briar patch of the unknown, you open yourself to luck. You meet people you would never have met. You stumble upon ideas you would never have conceived. You find parts of yourself that had been buried under layers of conformity. The universe tends to reward the brave. It meets you halfway. Doors that seemed locked suddenly swing open when you approach them with the intent to knock. You begin to live in a larger world, a world where the horizon is constantly expanding. There is also a spiritual dimension to this quest. To deny our potential because of fear is, in a sense, a rejection of the gift of life. We were given this complex mind, this beating heart, and this limited time not to hide, but to explore. Every time you retreat from a challenge, you are telling the universe that you are not ready for more. Every time you step forward, you are saying, I am ready. Use me. Stretch me. This is the dialogue between the creature and the creation. Eleanor Roosevelt's advice is a call to spiritual maturity. It is a reminder that we are the authors of our own stories, and a story without conflict, without risk, and without the overcoming of obstacles is a story that no one wants to read, not even the author. Think of the people you admire most. Think of the artists, the leaders, the parents, the innovators who inspire you. Were they fearless? No. If you read their biographies, if you listen to their interviews, you will find that they were often plagued by doubt. They spent sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if they were crazy. They felt the nausea of risk. But they acted. They understood that the feeling of fear is not a stop sign. It is a signpost. It says, proceed with caution, but proceed. It says, what you are about to do matters. We only feel fear about things that are significant to us. We do not fear the mundane. Therefore, fear is actually a relentless indicator of what we value. If you are afraid to publish your art, it is because you value expression. If you are afraid to open your heart, it is because you value love. Follow the fear and you will find your values. Let us also address the concept of failure. In the school of life, failure is not an F. It is simply data. It is feedback. When you do the thing that scares you, you risk failure, yes, but in doing so, you demystify it. You realize that failure is not fatal. It is merely a detour, a lesson wrapped in a bruised ego. The more you fail, the less you fear it. You develop a thick skin and a soft heart. You become resilient. This resilience is the greatest armor you can wear in this world. It renders you unstoppable because if success cannot spoil you and failure cannot stop you, what is left to hold you back? Nothing. You become a force of nature. So as you move through your day today, I ask you to look for the flinch. Look for the moment where you want to look away, where you want to say no when your heart wants to say yes. That is your teacher. That is your portal. It might be a small thing. It might be asking a stranger for directions. It might be negotiating a price. It might be simply sitting in silence with your own thoughts for 10 minutes without distraction. Whatever it is, embrace it. Walk toward it. Treat it like a dance partner. The music of life is playing, and you have been standing against the wall for too long. It is time to step onto the floor. Remember that you are not alone in this. Every single person you see, the CEO, the celebrity, the confident neighbor, is fighting their own hard battle with fear. We are all stumbling in the dark trying to find the light switch. When you take your leap, you light a candle in that darkness. You make it a little brighter for everyone else. You prove that it is possible. You become living proof of the power of the human spirit to transcend its instincts. This journey is not about becoming a superhero. It is about becoming fully human. It is about claiming your birthright to a life of depth, color, and texture. It is about refusing to let the gray fog of fear obscure the vibrant landscape of your possibilities. Eleanor Roosevelt did not ask us to move mountains every day. She asked us to do one thing, just one. It is a humble request, but within it lies the key to a magnificent life. One thing, one moment of courage, one deep breath and a step into the void. And then tomorrow, you do it again. And the next day, again. Over time, these single moments string together to form a lifetime of bravery. You will look back years from now and you will not recognize the person you used to be. You will see a stranger who was afraid of their own shadow, and you will smile with compassion, knowing that it was that scared stranger who took the first step that led you to where you are now. You are the sculptor, and your fears are the raw marble. Do not be afraid of the chisel. Strike the stone. Reveal the masterpiece that waits inside. The world is waiting for you. Not the polished, perfect, fearless version of you, but the real you, the one who is shaking but stepping forward anyway, the one who cares enough to be scared, the one who knows that on the other side of that door lies the life you were meant to live. So find your fear today. Look it in the eye. Smile at it. And then with all the grace and grit you can muster, do the thing. The silence of the comfort zone is deafening, but the music of the unknown is a symphony waiting to be written by your actions. Do not let the pen rest. Do not let the ink dry. Write your chapter of courage today. One act, one day at a time, one life, fully lived. This is the promise you make to yourself. This is the pact you sign with your potential. And in the end, when the twilight comes, you will not have to wonder what if. You will know. You will know the taste of courage, the texture of risk, and the beautiful, exhausting, exhilarating fullness of a life where you refuse to let fear hold the pen. If these words have found a home in your heart, if you feel that stir of awakening within your chest, know that this is just the beginning. We are walking this path together, exploring the infinite power that lies within language and within us. I invite you to leave a mark of your presence here. Like this video to cast your vote for courage and subscribe to Power in Words. Join our community of seekers, dreamers, and doers. Let us continue to challenge, inspire, and elevate one another one word and one brave act at a time.